ever want to start reading classics but you don't know where to start? This is a video for you. Hi guys, it's Samantha, and today I'm here with a classics book recommendation video, but I'm going to be doing them on different levels. So classic books that would be easy for somebody who's just beginning to read classics and are feeling daunted by it, somebody that is enjoying classic but wants to kind of go up a difficulty level, and those who love classics but are looking for more in the genre, perhaps that might be considered really difficult for people who are just starting out in the genre. I have 2 books for each category, and I will let you guys know a little bit about them and all that good stuff. So let us get started. The first book I have in the beginning cast classics category is Little Woman by Louisa May Alcott. This is an excellent book. It was written in the 1800s. It takes place during the Civil War, and it follows a group of 4 sisters, Amy, Jo, Meg, and Beth. Really good, heartwarming tale, kind of about entering womanhood, from young girls entering womanhood, and it follows their lives over a certain amount of years. It's really heartwarming and touching, and I absolutely adore it. It's a really easy read, and it's really enjoyable. It will definitely tug at your heartstrings, and there are some wonderful movie adaptations of this book as well. The one with Elizabeth Taylor and the one with Winona Ryder being 2 of my favorites, so you can definitely check out those as well if you have not done so already, either while, before, or after you read this book. The next book I have to recommend to you if you're just starting out and wanting to read classics is Anne from Anne of Green Gables, and really the whole Anne series. Anne's series follows a young girl, Anne Shirley, who is an orphan and is adopted by a brother and sister on Prince Edward Island. Again, this is another coming-of-age story, although the books actually follow her from a young girl all the way up until she is an adult and has children of her own. Really wonderful story. I want to give the series a reread. I've read it a couple times through, but it's been many years since I've done so. It is a fantastic series, and you can actually find movie versions of this. I believe they were done by the BBC or through Canada. I can't remember, but it was a miniseries, Anne of Green Gables, Anne of Avonlea. And it is fantastic, guys. This is just a really great story. Anne is just this very strong-willed, tenacious young girl, and she is fantastic. And again, this is an easy read, and I highly recommend that you check it out. The next 2 books are in the intermediate level. The first one is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. Wilkie Collins is kind of one of the first Victorian mystery writers. He was actually a friend and contemporary of Charles Dickens, but his books are a lot more accessible, I think, than a lot of Dickens' works. Really wonderful story. It is full of a lot of mystery and intrigue. There's some twists and turns you don't see coming. It follows this young tutor, and one day on his way home he sees this woman dressed in white, but people are chasing her. He ends up becoming a tutor to these 2 young women and gets caught up into the story surrounding this woman in white. That was kind of a horrible synopsis, but trust me, it is a really good story. The end definitely had me going because I did not see it coming at all. Really enjoyable read, and quite fast-paced, and just really intriguing. And another excellent pick if you're looking for a more intermediate level classic book. The next one I have to tell you guys I don't own a physical copy of, but it is Shirley by Charlotte Bronte. This book follows 2 women, Shirley, who is a woman of independent means, and her friend Caroline. Both of these women are kind of struggling about what their role is in society. It kind of deals with the industrialization of mills and things like that, so there's a lot of union tension and stuff going on in the story. Their male counterparts are Lewis, this tutor, who himself is kind of powerless, and Robert, who is a mill owner, kind of a little bit of a tyrant in terms of his personality. The story follows and explores a lot of the time the effects of the Napoleonic Wars, the effects of industrialization and class warfare, really class tension, and as well as the psychological drama and effects of love. It is a really good story. Really good. I like it just as much as Jane Eyre. It's not as heartwarming as Jane Eyre can be at times, I guess you would say, but it is still really good, and again, a very accessible, easy read, and I highly recommend it. Moving on to the more difficult level classic books, another one, the first one I want to mention is one I also don't own, but I really need to get my hands on, and that is the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. This is a very famous work. I think everybody kind of knows what it's about. It follows a group of pilgrims on their way to Canterbury, and each one has to tell their own story. I love this book because it just gives an insight into medieval life from the eyes of somebody who actually lived it. So you kind of get this little sneak peek into what life would have been like back then, and the stories they would have told, and the humor that was pervasive back then throughout society, and things like that. It's just really, really entertaining. Some of the tales are pretty bawdy. I mean, some of them are pretty, like, scandalous, even by today's terms, but they're hilarious, and I highly recommend it. It's a really entertaining read. I recommend getting an edition, which is how I originally read it. On one side of the page, it has the original Middle English, and then on the other side of the same page, it has it written in modern English, which is great because then you can read the story in the language that we speak now, but you can also see how language and spellings have changed in the past 500 years. So it's a really, really interesting edition. I can't remember what that edition was called, because I read it a long time ago and I got it from the library, so I will try and find it and put the picture here or put the name down in the description box. The last book I want to recommend that I would consider more of a difficult level classic is going to be Bleak House by Charles Dickens. I finished this book back in February and I really, really, really enjoyed it. It is a complicated story about people who are involved in this court case, Jarndyce and Jarndyce. It is an inheritance case. Everybody in this book is intertwined in some level. There's lots of different characters, there's lots to keep track of, but it's still really, really interesting. Charles Dickens explores a lot of different topics, the ineffectual court systems of the time, particularly those at Chancery, which handled disputed inheritance cases and property cases and things like that. A lot of class tension is represented, a lot of how the poor was treated back then was dealt with, there's a romance and love stories, and just a whole lot that he covers in this book. It also is one of the first books of the time that has come to shape our modern perception of a detective and how he goes about cases with Mr. Bucket, so that was pretty interesting. And yeah, it was just a really, really good book. It definitely takes some getting through. It's about 1,000 pages, but it's really entertaining. I listened to this half on audio, half reading, primarily because I was reading so many other books. I wanted to make sure I finished it, but it was still really, really, really entertaining. I would say I would not start out with this if this is your first Dickens, but nonetheless, it is definitely one of his masterpieces, and I highly enjoyed it. All right, guys, those were my classics that I have to recommend for you guys for beginning, intermediate, and advanced. I hope you guys will check these books out, and if you've read them, let me know what you think of them down in the description box. Let me guys know if there's any other videos you'd like to see me film, and I will try and get on them. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, happy reading. Bye!